Hello and welcome back to my channel. Do I look any different? Do I look any better? I got a new filming stand and it has a ring light on it and you can see it reflected in my eyes. But I am thrilled to have better lighting. So it's not gonna be just all on one side of my face. Ooh, my hair looks great. This is kind of what happens to the 1890s frizzed bangs after wearing them for a whole day. So this video we're gonna be talking about some things that existed in the Victorian era that you might not expect to have existed in the Victorian era. I've noticed a lot of misconceptions about what actually did exist in the 1800s, and there's a kind of idea that Victorian people did not have access to very many things to which we have access today. And that simply isn't true. They had access to a lot of really interesting and very modern sounding things that we have today. Now, this is obviously not going to be an exhaustive list of everything that they had that we have too, but it's going to cover some of the more popular misconceptions and just have a couple of things that I thought were interesting. First up on the list is toothpaste. Now, toothpaste has been around in some form or another for centuries, but the first time that a product that we today would recognize as toothpaste first came onto the market in the 1870s when the Colgate Company, yes, that Colgate Company, first started mass producing toothpaste in a jar. In 1892, American dentist Dr. Washington Sheffield created the first squeezable toothpaste tube made out of a lightweight flexible metal, I think aluminum, but I'm not sure. He thought that it was unsanitary to be dipping your toothbrush repeatedly into the same jar, so he created the tube as a health measure, and paint tubes were modeled after this same design. You can still buy Washington Sheffield brand toothpaste today, and this is my tube that I use every day. And I love the historical looking packaging. It looks like it would have if it were being sold in the 1800s. And it says Dr. Sheffield's since 1850 certified natural toothpaste. And the boxes have a whole thing about the history of the company. So I highly recommend this toothpaste. Not sponsored, I wish. Sponsor me, historical toothpaste. That would be a dream come true to be sponsored by historical toothpaste. But thing one, toothpaste. Second up on the list are toothbrushes. They had toothbrushes in the Victorian era. I've heard people say that people just used their teeth, that people just used their fingers or used twigs to brush their teeth, but they did in fact have toothbrushes. The body of the toothbrush was usually carved out of wood or out of bone, and then the bristles were made out of boar bristles. They were still made this way up until the mid-20th century, although now they're made of plastic. Now sometimes you'll see pictures of Victorian brushes that look like this, with this very ornate silver handle. And this is made in much the same way that they made a toothbrush, but if you see these with silver handles, they are almost certainly not toothbrushes. They are much more likely to be nail brushes. You use them to clean your nails. So they had toothbrushes and they had nail brushes. Nail brushes tended to be more elaborate because they don't wear out as quickly. Third up on the list, sunglasses. There's evidence of sunglasses dating back to 12th century China, but in the 19th century, sunglasses pretty much just mimicked the design of regular glasses, except the lenses were made out of a tinted glass. Sometimes they were made out of green glass, sometimes they were made out of darker gray glass, and sometimes the glass was tinted blue. Sometimes you'd even see sunglasses that had a hinge right here on the sides of the lenses, so you could fold an extra pair of lenses back to keep the sun from shining in to the sides of your eyes. This is my pair of gold-rimmed sunglasses, which dates to about 1890s. I'm not an eyewear expert, so if any of you know more about how to date eyewear, let me know if I'm wrong about these, but I'm pretty sure they date to the late 19th century. And they're just a very simple gold-rimmed pair of glasses, except the lenses are made out of a darkly colored glass. And actually, I'd kind of like to do the rest of the video in these because this bright circle light is kind of hurting my eyes, but I'm not going to. But they are just very, very simple. And then the lenses, you could have sunglasses with prescription lenses back then, but you could also just have them without prescription lenses. These ones are not prescription, they're just to keep the sun out of your eyes. Next up is elastic. I hear so many people talking about how they did not have elastic in the 1800s. They did. Elastic rubber bands were patented March 17th, 1845. And after that, there was an explosion of use of rubber elastic. A very common usage for it in the 1890s was to have, quote, elastic braid sewn into the back of your skirt to hold the fullness towards the back. Now, this elastic braid is just what we would call a strip of elastic these days. Number 5 on our list is toilet paper. No, they were not just using leaves and moss, and they were not all just ripping up newspapers to use as toilet paper, although that was still being done well into the 20th century. But in 1857, the first modern toilet paper was patented, and by the end of the 19th century, it was very well established. Here is a toilet paper advertisement from the 1880s or 90s. Number 6 on the list are curling irons. People have been using heat to style their hair and shape their hair for hundreds of years, but in the 1890s, there was an explosion in different types of curling irons and different styles of curling irons. I know that I've seen an advertisement, and I'm going to try, if I can find it, I will put it in here. It's in one of my many 19th century catalogs, and I don't know if I can find it because I have quite a few of them, but I know I've seen an advertisement for a device that you would attach it to your wall gas lamp, and it would kind of come up, and it would hold the curling iron over the gas jet so you could heat it up. Although I imagine this must have gotten it covered with coal smuts, so I imagine only women with black hair could have used that. They could also come with their own special little heating thing. I'll put a picture of that here. And here is a picture of a device that you could put onto the chimney of your lamp, and you'd put the curling iron into that, and that would heat it up. Here's my antique curling iron. I use it occasionally, but I prefer to use curlers, which they also had back then, because I don't have a very efficient way of heating this up. I don't want to hold it over a kerosene lamp, and we have an induction stove, so it's not very good at heating this up. Number 7 is vegetarianism. Vegetarians have been around for centuries. The Vestal virgins of ancient Rome ate a vegetarian diet while they were in service to Vesta, the goddess of the hearth, but it was also a very popular reform in the second half of the 19th century. In fact, in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's 1891 book, The Red-Headed League, Sherlock Holmes says, and I quote, "It is a hobby of mine to have an exact knowledge of London. There is Mortimer's, the tobacconist, the little newspaper shop, the Coburg branch of the City and Suburban Bank, the vegetarian restaurant, and McFarlane's carriage building depot." So vegetarianism was well established by the end of the 19th century. Number 8 on the list is soda pop. Soda as we know it today was invented in the Victorian era. Some of the first varieties were sarsaparilla, root beer, and Coca-Cola. Now, a Victorian could either go out and buy soda, or if they wanted, they could make it in their home using something called a gasogene. The gasogene functioned very similarly to a modern-day soda stream. It carbonated water, and then you'd add different flavored syrups to that water to make yourself a tasty treat. This contraption also comes up in one of Conan Doyle's books, his 1891 A Scandal in Bohemia, in which Dr. John Watson writes, quote, "With hardly a spoken word, but with a kindly eye, he waved me to an armchair, threw across his case of cigars, and indicated a spirit case and a gasogene in the corner." If you're interested in how this contraption works, I'll link a video showing one in action below. Number 9 is hairspray. Now, they didn't have hairspray quite as we have it today, but they did have something called bandoline, which was used to keep their hair in place. There were many different recipes for bandoline. It wasn't one specific thing. It was just kind of anything that could be put into your hair to keep it from getting all fuzzy and fly away, sort of like how we use hairspray today. There are many different brands of hairspray. There are many different brands of bandoline, and you could either buy it or you could make it at home. If you're interested, I'll link a video down below showing how to make and use a very popular variety. Number 10 is space heaters. Victorian homes were not always cold. In fact, they could be quite toasty thanks to the kerosene space heater. These were portable heating devices that were powered by oil or kerosene. If you're interested, I will link a video down below showing how they worked. Next up, we have chewing gum. Chewing gum was invented in the 1840s, and by the 1890s, it was pretty firmly established. One very popular variety was Beeman's chewing gum, no relation. Beeman's chewing gum was advertised as both a confection and also a cure for an upset stomach. I have here an original advertisement that I stumbled across one day in an antique store. You cannot imagine how thrilled I was to find this. And it reads, quote, Chew Beeman's, the original pepsin gum, a delightful confection and good for digestion. All others are imitations, for sale at every drugstore. You can still buy Beeman's chewing gum today, and it is, in my opinion, the best chewing gum on the market. Not sponsored, I wish. Sponsor me, Beeman's gum. Number 12 is shampoo. Now, modern liquid shampoo was not invented until 1927, but the Victorians did have special soaps and formulas and goos and lotions that they used specifically for washing their hair, and these were called shampoos at the time, even though they differed in character somewhat from what we today call shampoos. In a similar vein is number 13, refrigerators. The electric refrigerator wasn't invented until 1913. In the 1800s, they had what we today would call ice boxes, and these work by, it's an insulated wooden box, and you put a block of ice in it, and then you put anything that you wish to keep cold in with the ice. But at the time, these ice boxes were called refrigerators. I'll put in an advertisement for refrigerators from 1897. So even though the mechanics of the machine were slightly different, it had the same name and it had the same purpose as our modern-day refrigerators. Number 14 is showers. Most people think that bathing in the Victorian era consisted of having a bath in a large clawfoot tub, and that certainly was some of it. Some people did bathe that way, but showers have been around since the 1760s, and by the late 19th century, they were very firmly established in middle-class homes. Here's an advertisement from 1890. Last but not least are electric lights. The Victorian era is oftentimes portrayed as the era of gaslight, or the age of gaslight, and that is true, it was the age of gaslight. But by the end of the century, electricity was well on the way to overtaking gas in popularity. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much to Mary Royal, Kit Kat Stitch, Sandra White, River Shoal, Emily Donnelly, and V Birchwood for supporting this channel on Patreon. If you'd also like to support this channel on Patreon, I'll link down below. If you don't want to, no hard feelings. I completely understand. If you want to get in touch with me, I will link my email down below, and I will also link my Instagram down below, where you should definitely follow me. I hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye.